Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Star Rail, and this is a spicy one. The devs have put out a massive post basically saying, yeah, Amphoreus sucks and we're really sorry, and here's what everything that's wrong about our content, which is really fascinating to me. We're going to break it down. I've got some pretty spicy takes on this, I think. I'll tell you right now, I have now finished the story for Amphoreus. I think it starts very badly, but honestly, I actually think 3.0 on the whole is actually pretty good. And that the problems with the story, I don't really think there's actually that many problems, honestly, with Amphoreus overall. I actually think it's pretty good. I think there are problems with Honkai Star Rail story as a whole. And I actually think we've got a Penacony problem. But I'll explain that as we go. And I think that's all contributing to the feelings of negativity, not really Amphoreus itself too much, though the start was bad. Let's dive in. But yeah, following the launch of 3.0, the Express crews received an array of feedback from Trailblazers during the exploration of the new world. Concerns about the story and exploration, will be making adjustments and optimizations with the aim of bringing the Trailblazers a smoother journey. We've received feedback from Trailblazers that the Amphoreus main story contains excessive lore exposition and too much reading, resulting in feelings of fatigue and tedium. Yeah, and the results have failed to meet the Trailblazers' expectation. They're going to be reducing to address the root of the issue by reducing design-related explanations in the story, and you have options of skipping content to enjoy the main story in a more relaxed manner. Now, I want to touch on this, taking version 3.0 as an example. The progress from the beginning of the story to Okama contains a lot of dialogue with information on the end times, titans, chrysosairs, and miracles. Following adjustments, Trailblazers will be able to choose whether to talk to relevant characters to obtain this information. I do want to touch on this bit at the start. Let's go to here. The main story contains excessive lore exposition and too much reading. Yes, absolutely. For both of these, this is not a problem with 3.0. This is a problem with the entire game. Okay, too much reading. This has been a recent problem. I think one of the facepalm moments for me in this story was there is a point in the game where the Trailblazer, I don't know if it's a choice or if it just always says it, but you can literally say to Don Hung, wow, you've talked more. You've talked more in the last whatever few minutes than you have in the previous 3 worlds. I'm just face palming because I'm like, he's not said a single bloody word. We've got there's a voice acting problem in the game where several of the core characters, Don Hung and Himiko, being massive examples from, and there's others as well, from the 3.0 patch. Don Hung has so many lines, but because of the voice actor strike, which I think is over the developers using AI to recreate their voices and not pay them, they're missing from the game. Obviously, I don't know like the full backstory of that, but it's worth pointing out it is a massive problem for this game. A huge problem. The story, let's be honest, often isn't always that interesting. It's often quite filler. It's really rough to have to read it, and yeah, sometimes the lines skip too quickly. Sometimes they go too slowly as well. It's a real mess. Just treat your voice actors properly and get them back working on the game. Yeah, let's do that. But that is a huge problem. Excessive lore exposition. So Honkai Star Rail, one of the big problems it has. It's got a couple of big problems with the story. But number one, and I think this one is a difficult one to fix, but it's important to understand it. They've got the didn't listen to Stephen King problem. Stephen King, if you don't know, is one of the most successful authors, American authors of all time. And he does a lot of like writing advice. I think one of his really good pieces of writing advice is you do like your first draft of the story, go and edit it down, right? So remove all the bad stuff, edit it down until you've got a nice, clean, concise story, okay? Now, edit down another 30%. Cut out another 30%. And you go, but Stephen, I've just cut it down until all the goods. There's nothing to cut out. No, cut out 30%. Your story will be better when you cut out more of it and you focus on just the absolute best. Honkai Star Rail, I think it's going to be really difficult to fix this problem because they are on such a, they pump out content, to be fair to them, very quickly. They really do. Honkai Star Rail, not only do they not cut out that extra 30% to make it just concise and snappy, they don't even cut out all of the big stuff. They leave an awful lot of filler and waffle and honestly crap in there. And that's a problem that goes through the entire game. Some examples from the whole 2.0 cycle. I think the Aventurine story. I thought Aventurine, fantastic character. Probably the best character in the game. Really interesting backstory. But my God, was it long. It went on way too long. And I remember going through it thinking, God, this is a bloody slog. He's just going on and on and on. And it's good stuff. It's a great character development. But God, it goes on way too much. Acheron, on the other hand, going on and on and on. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is just absolute mindless waffle. It's just, oh yeah, she's super edgy. There's nothing of substance. It's just edgy waffle. And it's going on and on and on. And it doesn't stop. And it's dreadful. But yeah, I mean, even the adventuring stuff, like I said, was good. You got stuff that's good, and it's too long. I think it's most of the content in this game is too long, and they waffle on too much. It's just a fact. And then there's plenty of stuff that's in there that's clearly just bad as well. I think a great example of that was the Fugue story from the last patch, right? Interesting concept. Ooh, this character who died, we thought was dead on a previous planet, they actually survived. They've been, whatever, captured by the destruction for ages. They've been resurrected by Ron May, put back together. They're going to have some interesting stuff to say, right? Wow, this is going to be, she's going to have like a really interesting story. Ron May's going to have interesting stuff to say. Nope, no, a whole bunch of crap. Like, genuinely, the game would have been better without, it's like she is literally just there to sell a banner. That's it. She's just there to sell the character before we go and we get a new Trailblazer. Just the replacement for the Harmony Trailblazer. Here she is. Buy the banner. Story is absolute asinine nonsense. Nothing there. So the game would be better without it in there. Absolute trash. Yeah, that's a pretty consistent problem. Honestly, it is. One of the big issues, so I had a couple of big issues with this. I do think this was the one part of Amphoreus which was really genuinely terrible. Again, it's that thing of like, this is just cutting out the crap, right? This isn't even cut down the 30% good. This is cutting out the crap. How did it get behind the design process? Amphoreus, or Amphoreus, whatever it's called. I don't even know. It starts off in kind of a banger, right? Ooh, crash landing on the planet. Ooh, it's an explosive start. And then you land in this really dreary, dull, ugly place. How does it make it past the design process? That they're like, okay, let's start with this explosive start. Ooh, really spicy. And we'll have Don Hung yapping on with unvoiced lines for ages as well. But, start in this really ugly place. What if we have this explosive start and then we have a massive lore dump in this really ugly place and we just go on and on and on and on about lore? And the player will be sitting there going, when is anything actually interesting going to happen? Right at this, let's just kill all the excitement for the new patch as quickly as possible. Interesting, start to hook them for about 5 minutes, and then let's smash them with absolute boring, ugly stuff. Finon's not ugly, he's fine, but the area, let's smash them with all of that right at the start. Oh man, how does that happen? And then when you do get to Akuma, they bloody lore dump even more. There's even more. I actually stopped playing the game for a couple of weeks. I was just like, this is bullshit. And I stopped. I did come back to it then. I think I picked it up after all the lore dump stuff and got into it. And actually, from that point on, from the point where you're basically free to roam Akuma, genuinely really did enjoy it from that point on. I thought it was great. But this stuff at the start is not only is it bad, but it's so obviously bad, I don't even know what they're thinking. The other aspect to this then, so we've got number one, a core problem, which is, I think it's there throughout the entire game. I think it is there less. The excessive exposition. I think it is there less, at the start of the game. The Herta space station and Belobog, they're not amazing by any means, but they don't have as much excessive exposition because I think they had, obviously, a much longer time to develop that content, and it is more streamlined and polished, and there's less filler at the start of the game. So I think the start of the game had a lot less, but this is why I say it's a difficult thing for them to fix because they're pumping out this content constantly. They're never going to have as much time unless they change their release cadence, which they're not going to do because they only care about making money. I don't see this problem ever fully fixing, but hopefully they could improve some of it in future. But yeah, this was just one particularly bad example of a consistent problem with the game for years. Let's be real, for years. The other problem is the Penacony problem. So I actually think I was reading some comments and stuff. I think a lot of you guys agree with me actually when I was reading this. I was kind of worried that people wouldn't. Like the last time I was reading much stuff about what people thought about the story was it was that peak Coney and Firefly is amazing, all this stuff. And I was worried people would still feel that way. I think people have come around to it a little bit. To the way I see things, I think Penacony actually is a huge problem with the story. A huge problem. Why? Well, the first couple of patches in Penacony are amazing, right? Obviously, number one, it's a super cool setting, right? The hotel, the dream world, the city in the dream world, like that's all freaking great stuff. It's really good. And you're setting up all the mystery, like, ooh, what's Acheron doing? What's Aventurine up to? What's Sparkle up to? All these different players in the game, right? We don't know all the mystery and the murders, right? Ooh, the murder mystery. People are dying. It's like high stakes. It's just the setup is incredible. The setting, the setup, it's like, yes, this is freaking awesome. Where is it going? This is amazing. Genuinely, extremely good. And yeah, we had the whole date with Firefly, and that's a bit shit. But then she gets killed. It's like, oh, that's spicy stuff. Cool. Where's it going? And then it goes a bit further. And I think the second half of Penacony is absolute trash. It basically says all of those promises we will fail to meet, basically every single one about stuff being interesting. All the deaths are fake out. Nothing actually happened. All the mystery, what's everyone up to? None of it really happened. None of it really matters. It just everything falls apart. It really falls apart. I think Aventurine's a perfect example, right? I talked about they've so much setup into Aventurine and his character. And I'm like, wow, at least he's a good character. And it's like, what's going to happen with Aventurine? Right? Cool. Is he dead? Is he gone, teleported somewhere else? After that big part in the story, what's going to happen? Well, I guess his banner is over. So I don't know. Who fucking cares, right? He's just did some shit off screen. Doesn't matter. Moving on. It's like, oh my God, it's absolutely awful. And I think that was a consistent thing with really everything in it. I thought the end of Penacony was just dreadful. And I was like, I feel like none of my expectations were met. And it's a problem because coming in, and especially when you've got these big lore dumps, it's like, ooh, trust us, guys. All of this information is super important and it's going to be a really cool story. It's the Penacony problem. I think players are coming into this going, well, we just went into Penacony and we were told, oh, there's all this interesting stuff is happening and it's going to be a really cool story. And it just ended up being absolute shit. Why am I sitting through all of this? It's probably just going to end up being absolute shit again. That's a big problem. That is a big problem. And they can't really fix it. They're not obviously going to go back and rework the Penacony story. It's just not going to happen. I think Penacony, I mentioned Firefly being another really bad character. I think Penacony would have been infinitely better if Firefly had actually died and Sam was a different character as well. I think it's the perfect I think Firefly perfectly encapsulates the Penacony problem, which is, ooh, there's Sam. He's the most dangerous Stellaron hunter. What's he doing in Penacony? Wow, he's going to do crazy stuff. We're going to have a really interesting story. There's danger, excitement. Ooh, what's going to happen? Surprise, how it actually happens. Actually, Sam is just this, the lovely, bland little girl, is not really doing anything interesting and is literally just there to sell a banner to young men that, don't have a girlfriend. It's just lonely young men that have never talked to an actual woman who will find this super bland character interesting. That's the entire point. Buy the banner. Buy the banner. Buy. Let's go. Woo! Banner. Amazing. Think of the money. And Sam's not gonna, whatever. She's like a mass murderer. Who cares? Isn't she lovely? And let's fly to a Sparkle. She just made some fireworks. She didn't do anything worrying. Let's just fly in the sky and have a big hug in the sky with Firefly. Isn't that great? Wow, Penacony. And it's like, yeah, that's absolute crap. So I don't know. Hopefully they do stuff that's actually interesting. But it is a huge. I went into honestly, I went into 3.0 super skeptical. Will they do anything interesting or not? I do think their smaller stories have been pretty good. I quite enjoyed the return to the Lafu stuff. Again, I thought That was 2 patches. I thought the first patch, the setup was better. The second patch, again, it was a bit shaky, but it was decent. That was a good story. And here's another spicy take. I actually enjoyed the banana stuff. I did. I thought the banana stuff was a fun concept. It was definitely not main story material. It's side story, and it was obviously much too long. It could have been cut down by 30 to 50%. But I actually quite enjoyed the banana stuff, and I thought Rappo was a fun character. I thought Rekka was a fun character. That was a fun little side story. I actually enjoyed that. And you know, the Sunday stuff was okay. At the end, again, you've got a little bit of the let's just forgive the mass murderer or attempted mass murderer guy. You know, a little bit too much of that anime. Don't worry about the war crimes anime trope stuff going on there. But on the whole, I actually thought those little stories were okay. So I'm kind of looking at it going like, I mean, they're obviously filler patches. The Fugue stuff was crap, but I didn't mind the last few patches too much. I thought they had an okay story. So I did look back in it, and I was like, why am I so negative coming into Amphoreus? Why am I so negative about this and so skeptical? And I said, it's not actually the last few patches that have been that bad. It is Penacony that threw me off because I was promised so much and delivered so little. Okay, moving on here. When facing Arnex's trial, try different methods. I enjoyed this, actually. This was fun. I love the options in the story to troll. Just pick the worst options, and the Trailblazer does some genuinely funny stuff. That's actually a really good part of the story. And it's something I think they've leaned into recently. I think it works pretty well. Just you being an absolutely deranged character. I think it's great. So, yeah, they're going to let you just skip that. Fine. I love that that's highlighted something amazing. I didn't think that was a big problem. People must have been making memes about it or something. Puzzle solving issue. I actually really enjoyed the puzzles, honestly, on the whole. Their unique stage gameplay. I thought it was really good. I thought that honestly, on the whole, the Amphoreus, like the little mini games and puzzles, were pretty easy, pretty chill. I actually had a pretty good time with them. I thought they were more fun again than the Penacony ones. Like I really enjoyed the whatever, the jazz music when you're the little, I don't know, whatever little dog man thing. The music was fun, but the gameplay was kind of ass. I thought this was fine. In practice, we should have achieved a better balance between puzzle solving and story, with puzzles containing too many steps. I didn't think there's any issue with the puzzles, honestly. Now, I will say there was the event, which I finished, like the do the puzzles event. And the puzzles event, like the optional side event, is really easy as well and really short. I could see if some people have some issues. Like I said, I didn't have any issues with the puzzles, but you could move more of that stuff into side stories. Yeah, well, optimize main story. Puzzle solving designs provide simpler, more direct solutions for some puzzles. I mean, I'll be honest, they're already very easy. Now they're going to be almost pointless. I don't mind, though, especially because people apparently are having issues with it. But I don't mind if they make the main story more of the tutorial. And then I think the amount of puzzles is a pretty nice amount. And you could totally have that off in some side content. Like, put in some side quests, right? Put in some side quests instead. I think they used to have more of a side quest heavy design back in the early days. I remember there's lots of side quests. I feel like now it's a lot more just shove everything in the main quest. Again, I think that's short production time and just sort of shoving stuff out. And again, not cutting. When you cut some stuff, you can, again, turn it into side quests. Like the adventuring story, again, cut out some of it. It was too long. But move a chunk of it into an optional side quest, and you can explore and, yeah, have some optional puzzles related to it, and you get some cool lore. And do it if players want to. And if they don't want to, they don't have to do it. Yeah, streamlining the main story. But I didn't have a big problem with the puzzles. Yeah. In the Bloodbath Battlefront, Custom Kremno Soul Forging Zone, you must complete the drawn-out task of restoring 4 Soul Forging statues. That didn't take long at all. That was pretty quick. That took like 5 to 10 minutes. That was pretty fast. Following the adjustments, you'll be able to talk directly with Nias and complete the mission objective in a more Kremnoan fashion. Okay. Before reaching the Soul Forging Zone, you have to do a bunch of puzzles. Following adjustment. I mean, the thing is, like, what can they do instead? It's difficult, right? Combat in the game is automated, and you can't make the main story too difficult either in terms of combat. Like this sort of creating these things for exploration, because like the core exploration, there isn't much. There's no jump, right? There isn't much you can actually do except run around and interact with mini games that they put in there. So I thought they did a good job actually of sprinkling these mini games, the puzzles for this in this one. They were actually pretty cool technology as well with the whole time shifting stuff. It's really cool. Um, yeah, I thought they actually did a really good job with exploration and the maps and stuff. I thought they did. I'm kind of sad that they're saying that it was bad. I actually think it was good. I thought they did a good job with exploration, as good a job as they can in this game. Like if you take out the puzzles, it literally is just running around with not doing anything and more yapping. Like are they saying this? Or you're gonna talk more? Just people gonna stand there and talk? That's all the game is, and there's too much. Just let's have a bunch of characters stand there and talk as it is. I enjoyed the puzzles as a change of pace. Engaging in battle. You can progress the story in a more Kremnoan fashion by talking to Nias and engaging in battle. I don't really think that's an improvement because you just auto battle through and there's nothing really happens. We'll, at the same time, will optimize the lengthy and complex map pathing for the main story's exploration. The overly concentrated enemy placements in certain areas will be reduced to prevent enemies from frequently interrupting map exploration and puzzle solving. That aims to enhance their experiences. And yeah, I didn't have an issue. I'm actually worried they're just gonna make it brain dead. Genuinely, I had fun. I had fun. I will say maybe I enjoyed again just clearing through the enemies. There was that one issue is that killing enemies gives you like no rewards. There was one cool part of the story where it was like, ooh, you gotta beat my day, right? You gotta kill more people than him. So it's like, oh, okay. There's incentive to actually kill the enemies. That was fun. You didn't get anything out of it though, as far as I know. And I killed all of them. But yeah, adding in more incentive to fight, more reward for fighting the enemies would be nice. Because right now, it's just slowing you down. And part of this is maybe I was running through with the Herta, and the Herta is just absolutely deleting everyone, and it's super fun, and it's cool. So, and she's new, so maybe that's not as much of an issue. But I could see it. Yeah, I suppose if I was going into this and I didn't have the Herta, all the enemies probably would have been a pain in the ass. The Herta made it fun, but if you don't have her, again, selling the new banner, shocker. Yeah. Okay. To reduce negative stuff, we anticipate these adjustments will take effect from version 3.2. It's quite a ways away. And yeah, like it's a bit of a problem. Like they can't actually fix the problem. They're just gonna let you skip. This stuff. Again, I think, having more action at the start and then you get to the city and leaving you fairly free to explore in the city. And, maybe, yeah, you do the little bit of the lore dump and the bats with the Glaya and stuff like that would have been fine. But then you could have interesting side quests throughout the city that will explain this lore. So, you can do some interesting tasks and puzzles as optional side activities, and that would be explaining things like, oh, what are miracles about the Chrysos heirs? I want to learn more about them. Oh, well, there's a couple of side quests exploring the lore of the Chrysos heirs, or you get to see them in action or doing something. That would really improve the game. Is that going to happen, though? I don't think so. It looks like they're just going to add skip buttons. Basically, just skip the lore. They're not going to work it in any useful way. We'll see if they improve stuff in the future. It has been a bit surprising to me, and like I said, to see so much negativity about Amphoreus. I thought Amphoreus, so honestly, on the whole, pretty good. I think it has a terrible start, but on the whole, it's actually really enjoyable. I thought it was good, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes. But like I said, going into it with a ton of cynicism and a ton of skepticism, because 3.0 didn't go anywhere, and yeah, the good thing about the story is you've got a bunch of, I think, really boring characters, but then you also have some interesting characters in there as well, mixed into the story. You've got interesting characters like Penacony's story, I thought fell flat, but Sunday was quite interesting. Again, he talked too much. He yapped on sometimes. My God, he'd tell you about that feckin' little bird. Oh, let me tell you about that bird again. And it's like, oh, come on, Sunday, please stop. Sunday, he's talking again 30 to 50% too much, but at least he's sort of interesting. Aventurine story, again, 30 to 50% too long, but at least there's some interesting stuff in there. Same thing with Rappa. You do have, like Boot Hill was a fantastic character. He actually didn't talk enough. Wow. Oh my God. A character who needed to have more stuff going on. Poor Boot Hill. And they do occasionally have some banger side quests, like the Boot Hill plus Argenti side quest. Banger. That was a great bloody quest. being the hotel receptionist or whatever. That was a great one. There are some nuggets sprinkled in there, but there's a lot of bloat, and hopefully they will actually address the bloat moving forwards. But I continue to be skeptical until I see actual changes. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully they actually make something interesting happen with the main story. Like, actually have some stakes. Don't bait us with a bunch of fake deaths. If you're going to bait us with a bunch of fake deaths, have at least some deaths matter. Have some stuff happen. Have more stakes. There's no problem with having an actually interesting story that goes somewhere. Or, I mean, if you're going to I guess another way to put it would be, if you're going to do a lot of setup, have an end goal in mind. I really feel like the Penacony story, that they changed it halfway and didn't really know what they were doing, genuinely. Also, one thing that really annoyed me, and this is a small thing, that someone pointed out, and I was like, yes, I hadn't realized it, but you're absolutely right. I saw someone talk about, they talk about the dreamscape and the dreamland for the first couple of patches, and then halfway through the Penacony story, they suddenly start yapping on about the sweet dream, the sweet dream. Every 2 words is every sentence, it's the sweet dream. The sweet dream. And you're like, what the fuck is the sweet dream? I've been playing this Penacony shit for 3 months or 4 months or 6 months. I don't know. I've been playing this shit for months. They've never mentioned a sweet dream before, and now you won't shut up about the sweet dream. What the fuck? Anyway, that's another that's another thing. One thing I saw here at the end that is spicy, I think is cool. They'll continue to optimize content. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. To name some examples, we'll be adding richer combat gameplay and challenge goals to the game. That's cool. I'd love that. That'll be interesting. In addition, issues close to Trailblazers' hearts, including difficulty deploying older characters on the battlefield, and the strengthening of these older characters, are already on the schedule. Again, that's exciting as well. There's a bunch of characters, I think we've got, what's her name? Silverwolf, who's kind of a fun character, actually. But she's, not amazing, but decent. She's coming back on the banner. In fact, might be on the banner right now. And it's why would you ever pull for this character? She's so terribly outdated for the game. So yeah, getting updates to some old characters seems brilliant. I'm all for it. Let's go. Maybe they'd be like, guys, so we were going to release Screwlum, and we were actually going to release finally some new dot characters. We're going to push those back even further to do some reworks of small character. The dot, we'll do another dot character maybe sometime. I don't know. We just threw in a couple of dot characters, some dot stuff in the old pure fiction and simulated universe. We just threw it in for a laugh, right? There'll never be any dot characters again. We'll see. But yeah, blah, blah, blah. I think it's that. There you go. Guys, let me know what you think. Again, I think that they are being overly apologetic about stuff that's not actually a massive problem. This is a massive problem, the bloat. But yeah, I genuinely think people are too harsh on Amphoreus overall. I thought that once you get past the bloat at the start, that Amphoreus is actually really solid. But there we are. Guys, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Goodbye.